What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Sitting down with Alex Cook for the second time. So, Alex, thanks for making time for the Mortgage Coach community.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave.
Well, dude, you are a success story in the Mortgage Coach community. It is the first time in the, 12 years I've been doing YouTube interviews. It's the first time where a new loan officer in the mortgage business made the top 10 interviews. And I think you know it, but you were one of the top 10 most viewed, most engaged, most commented on videos of 2020. And I just think that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, you sent me the congratulations text, and honestly, it was super humbling just considering a year ago I was telling my wife someday I'm going to be on the Mortgage Coach getting interviewed by Dave Savage. I obviously thought it was going to be 3 to 5 years away at that point, but it's funny how life works.
Yeah, well, you were getting after it. It was cool because I had you and your mentor, the guy that brought you into the mortgage business, and sharing kind of the backstory of how he said, "Hey, you got to start using Mortgage Coach, and you got to start watching Mortgage Coach videos." And then, before you know it, you're off to the races. So, if you are a new loan officer, I highly recommend you watch that first interview. I'll put a link down below. And if you are a mentor to a new loan officer, I highly recommend that you do it. And lastly, if you're currently trying to recruit a new loan officer into the business, whether it's right out of college or whether it's second or third career, I think both of these interviews are great resources for you. So let's just kind of summarize for everyone, because this one, I want to share a black belt strategy. Like, you're doing things that even the best loan officers in America are doing, you're doing. So I have a strategy I want you to share with everyone, but just tell us, how did you do in 2020, and give us the 5-minute version of your new loan officer success story.
Yeah, so last time that I talked to you, I was riding pretty high on a wave. I think I was closing 20 loans that month, and we did end up closing out the year really strong the last several months. But there was some hiccups along the way. Like, one thing that I noticed is that you need a loan officer assistant when you're doing that kind of volume. I'm not the most organized person. I definitely could never be a processor. I'm very good with people, and I love putting the pieces of the puzzle together and structuring the deal and figuring out what's best for people. But I'm telling you, ever since I hired a loan officer assistant who she's got, 12 to 13 years experience in the business. She was a processor at one time. That has changed everything for me. And it's really allowed me to stay in my lane, so to speak, and do what I'm best at, and, use the gifts that God has given me. And, thankfully, he made people with those gifts too, because that's not me. And if you're gonna do, like, one of the things that Pete, my mentor, said was, if you're gonna do over 10 loans a month, you really got to have a loan officer assistant to get up to 20 loans a month. And it's changed everything. It's really made me love what I'm doing again. Because for a while there, it was madness. It really was.
Well, I appreciate your transparency and you being humble, because I think I didn't actually realize that you got in the mortgage business, you got to 20 loans, and you started a team all in 2020. So that adds a color I didn't even realize. So guys, I just want to connect the dots. I mean, this was the number 6 video of the year, new loan officer success story with Alex Cook and his mentor, Pete Metz. Check it out. Following Denise Donahue and Jeremy Forcier, which 2 monster producers, big teams. If there was a Hall of Fame, both of these guys would be in the Mortgage Coach Hall of Fame. Must watch video, by the way. If you're a new loan officer, like, I would say, of all the interviews I did last year, this is definitely in the top 3. Of course, everything Jeremy does, he was the number 3 video of the year. Scriptapalooza. I mean, if you're a new loan officer, you might want to watch this 3 times, and then what's your rate? I mean, that's the thing that, like, every new loan officer needs to know is, like, hey, when someone says, what's your rate? What do you say? And we had a bunch of top loan officers say what their rate was. By any chance, did you watch any of these other interviews?
Oh, I watched all of them. I don't miss any of the, Ryan Grant, Jeremy Forcier, just all of the heavy hitters you have on there. That's why I am here where I'm at. That's why I had the year that I had, was because of all that stuff I learned from them and Pete and people in my company.
Awesome, dude. Well, congrats. So, all right. So you killed it. How many loans did you close in 2020? Just so we could get the count.
It was
the
100.
stats?
It was 110. And even though you gave me credit for being humble earlier, I do have to say I could have done more, but we weren't as a company licensed in Michigan yet. So I was dishing out all my Michigan loans to someone. We live in Northwest Indiana, so we're right by the border. We just recently got licensing for Michigan, so it could have been like 120 and some, but 110 families served, and super proud of that.
Oh, dude, you should be incredibly proud of that. What's the goal for 2021?
Oh man, you know what? Honestly, it's 200. 200 families served. But for me, more than even just the numbers, of course, it's good to have numbers for our goals. For me, my goal is to the team atmosphere is changing, right? So we had, for me, for a while, just having an awesome processor that I could lean on really hard was good enough, and I need a loan officer assistant. And now the volume of leads that we're generating, because a lot of our 110 people that we helped have become passionate fans, I guess you could say, and they're referring people. And so now we just hired a front end loan partner who's also going to act as the front desk person, but it's going to be, lead intake, application intake, setting appointments for me. That's like what I'm really missing right now. And then I'm going to be hiring 2 loan officers, hopefully this week, that I just extended offers to. So it's more than, I guess, my numbers as being a goal. My goal is to build the team that I really have in mind, if that makes sense.
It does. And you and I do another interview about that, because a lot of people are building teams, optimizing teams. I don't know if you saw yesterday's interview with Shant, who has built a team of 40 and did 3,500 loans last year for 1.7 billion. So it's the biggest team in the United States. So, and the most successful team. So first of all, watch that if you haven't. For brand new loan officers, watch it, because he said some things about starting with your values. Like, what are your values? Get clear on your values. And if you get clear on your values and you build a team and a culture of values, it's a lot easier. So let's do another call maybe in a couple of weeks or next month on new loan officer team building.
Yes.
But let's get into the strategy. I know you've got to jump in like 11 minutes. You got to get into a borrower conversation. So tell us about this success story, because Mortgage Coach, this is one thing that he's doing that even the most successful loan officers aren't doing enough. Denise Donahue's doing this. I know other producers that are doing this, but what Alex is doing, he's taking a success story with a family where he used a mortgage coach and he blew their mind. Like, they're like, whoa. And then he's turning that into social media content. And I want you to tell the borrower story, and then I want you to tell what you did with Facebook.
Yeah, for sure. Can I share a screen here?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So this is the total cost analysis. And I, of course, changed the name here just for identity purposes. But this was an exciting one for me. I've known this girl for a long time, went to school with her. And basically she called in for a rate term refi. When I ended up pulling credit and importing liabilities, I saw that there was a lot more that we could do than just saving her money on, her interest rate. She had a 4.375. And back at that time, our rates were 3.125. I think this is early summer. And so I took a look at the liabilities and just noticed there was a lot of credit cards and some medical bills. And so I just talked to her about that and said, hey, do you have any idea what the interest rate is on some of these? And we went through that. Some of them were ridiculous, just really high interest. She was just getting gouged, and she's a single mom, has a kind of a tough story there. And so I really went to work for her on comparing interest rates and, what, if we did a cash out refi, what would that look like? And that's scary to some people. And it was certainly scary to her. Her main goal was to get the house paid off earlier and obviously save money on interest rate. But when I started showing her, hey, if you take 25,000 out, you have a lot of equity in this house. I know you want to pay it off. Everybody wants to be, debt free and have no house payment someday. But what if you use the equity, as a tool? And so when we ended up going through it all, it took her a minute to get it, because she's like, wait a minute, I showed her what she would have saved just doing a rate term. And then I showed her, obviously she's saving less per month in the green as far as on her mortgage, by taking 25,000 out, but by paying off all of her medical bills, she ended up being, I mean, it's been a while, but it was over $1,000 difference. And that was on the cash flow side. So without all of, paying her monthly bills that we're paying off, she's saving 1,000. Then of course I use the tool that Mortgage Coach allows you to do, to manipulate their payment. So I showed her, well, hey, what if you just took half of that $1,000 and put it back into your mortgage on the principal? And showed her how fast she could pay off her loan, because in the end, that was her goal, to pay off the loan quicker. But I showed her, use your house as a tool, take out the equity, pay off all this high interest debt you have. Now you have an extra $1,000 a month. So whether you want to give that to a financial advisor or you want to, buy an investment property, but her main goal is to pay off the house sooner. So I showed her, if you put that towards the house, this 30-year loan is going to turn into I don't even remember what it ended up being, but it was ridiculous, 10-year loan or something. But just gave her all sorts of options. And here she just was trying to get a lower interest rate, and I guarantee you she wouldn't have understood what I was trying to show her without the visual aid of Mortgage Coach.
So by the way, you did a great job of this. I think there is one, we have a new debt consolidation analysis, and I'm going to show it real quick. And so that would help you tell the story better, where you could, in column A, like, hey, here's your current situation. Column B could just be a rate and term refi. And then column C could be debt consol. And then when you show the debt consol, it will show their debts based off of the rate, when it's going to be debt free. You can kind of look at the short term and long term approach.
Yes.
And then you can really net it out, like, hey, this would be your total savings. And so, one, I think it would be interesting for you to almost put this, not almost, I recommend, like, I would, after you tell the story, I think you should create a generic version of this.
Yeah.
And then retell that story on social media. But
yep, that's what I want to do now that you have the debt consolidation portion available.
Yeah, but let's go ahead and, because what I love, so Mortgage Coach community, he used the total cost analysis to create clarity for a family. And it's in a crazy story. And in this particular case, it was like, pay off all your debt, restructure how you're paying it, and become debt-free more than 10 years faster. Yeah. And it sounded like it might've been 20 years faster. But at the end of the day, you're better off. Mortgage Coach creates clarity. Every family gets a TCA. Every family gets that clarity, whether it's just points versus no points. But then tell them what you did on social media, because I think this is what I want the community to hear. How did you take that story? And then how did you turn that into a lead generation marketing campaign?
Well, I was super pumped. So actually, I just, like, right when I got off the phone with her, because she was almost in tears after I showed her how much extra cash she was going to have a month. And she's like, Alex, you have no idea. This is going to change my life. I'm a single mom. And so I felt so cool about it. And it was one of those days where you're proud, definitely to be a loan officer. So I just pulled out my phone and shot the video right then without really thinking about it much. And so this is the video, which I've shared several times on Facebook, because it had a response. I don't know if it was because of the title, Single Mom Refi, or what it was. It just had a lot better of a response than most of my videos do. And so I ended up, rerunning it several times, and I get a lot of leads generated from it. More obviously to do with cash out refis specifically. And so there's just so many people that have no idea what a cash out refi is. I mean, they know what a home equity line of credit is, but when they call, they're just looking for a lower rate. And then when you explain it to them, it's one of my favorite things to do, is pull in those liabilities and be like, all right, how can I really help these people when they have equity,
Yeah. Well, dude, this is beautiful. And keep that. Would you mind sharing that into the Mortgage Coach Facebook group, just so folks could see it as an example? And how many leads do you think you got out of it? Like, what's a guess?
I bet every time that I rerun it with, like, say $100 behind it, in advertising, and I do a 30 mile radius, I probably get, it's hard to say, but I would say at least a couple loans that turn it, like, a lot of leads, but how many turn into loans? Probably a couple each time.
So $100.
Yeah. Way more than $100.
Yeah. So that's a whole nother thing, guys. He's doing, I didn't know that you were boosting it. You were putting ad dollars behind it. which super smart. He found something that organically trended. And then he said, you know what? I'm going to do some Facebook marketing. I assume you've watched some of my interviews with Bill Hillstad, and have you
Mhm.
learned anything about how to do Facebook marketing from Bill?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've talked to Bill several times, and it's he knows so much that each session I've done with him, I'm just taking notes as fast as I can. And if I can implement just one of the things that he teaches me in an hour-long call, I'm going to be miles ahead, you know? So yeah, he's helped a lot. And that video I think has more views. Oh no, that one over there has 90,000, but 44,000 views. And I think I've pumped it probably 3 times,
So $300 and it's got 30,000 views. Sounds like six-ish loans.
yeah, I would
So
say at
stop.
least, because you don't really know, Dave, who comes from what, right? So it could have been more
Yeah,
than six, but six directly referenced having watched the video.
cool. Well, if you can stop sharing your screen, I'm
Yeah.
going to wrap this up, guys. So I'm going to put a link down below also to one of my last interviews with Bill Hillstad. He's got a community called Social Simple. So social-simple, biggest no-brainer ever. It sounds like you have hired him to do some coaching and consulting, and he's helped you beyond just being part of Social Simple, but super smart. My message, and I hope the takeaway for everybody is, first of all, if you're new, it's amazing what you can do in the first year in the mortgage business. And 2020 is going to be another spectacular year. Whether you're coming out of college, whether it's your second or third career. I interviewed a new loan officer that was doing construction 2 years ago, is in the mortgage business now, and he's killing it. So it's a great time to get in the mortgage space if you're watching this and you're not in the mortgage space. And yeah, I do recommend you get on the mortgage coach team. That means subscribe to our Facebook group, watch our YouTube videos. That's all free. And then for $120 a month, you can be a mortgage coach black belt. You can actually use our product to deliver strategies to families, create stories for families. And then we don't do social media marketing. I'm just here to say, hey, it's a good idea. Take a
Yeah.
success story from Mortgage Coach and turn it into scroll stopping social media content. If you are a mortgage coach and you've done something like this, I am looking for more stories like this, where it's like, hey, I took a TCA, it inspired a story. If you've done that, share in comments down below. I'm looking for more interviews like this. Hey, Alex, any last words of wisdom before we wrap it?
Honestly, people who aren't using Mortgage Coach, it's been the single biggest advantage that I've had in my industry. I live here in Northwest Indiana, and I didn't realize that I seem to be about the only one around here using it. There's one guy in South Bend who's a pretty heavy hitter. He's really well known around here. He's using it as well.
Jonathan, are you talking about Jonathan?
Yep. Jonathan.
Yeah.
I know that he uses it, and I think some of his people use it. But for the most part, when I'm showing this to people, they're blown away. They're like, "Oh my God!" When I go into the bank, I get an amortization schedule, and I just want to fall asleep during. I don't understand anything about what they're telling me, and this is just so simple to understand. And I'm telling you, like, just the testimonies I've received back from that, it's always worth the extra. I mean, what's it really take? Like 10 minutes, 15 minutes once you get good at them to knock out even a harder mortgage review, So it's been my secret weapon. And I do hope that you do well and keep growing your client base. But, until then, I enjoy being one of the only ones.
Yeah. Well, I'll see if I can make sure that no one in you and Jonathan's market sees this.
Yeah. Give me a video.
Yeah. Give you like a 10-mile radius. But anyways, dude, thank you for being this new leader in our community. It's always exciting to see next gen new people come into the industry and thrive. And I am looking forward to interviewing again on how you're scaling and building your team. And I would also please share that in the group. And if you use a TCA and you do another social media post that you think is worth having a conversation around, I mean, I'll interview you every month if it's this good.
I love it. And actually, I'm really excited to redo that. I'm glad that you told me to do that. Now that I have that debt consolidation tool, like to show her that, I had to like spell it out longhand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. You kind of had to tell two stories. There's the mortgage coach story,
Yes.
and there are some other ways you could have done that, but I wanted this to be a story, not a training. So, Alex, I'm going to let you get to that next meeting, and I appreciate you, brother.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. Have a good one.
All right. All right, give us a like, share it with your mortgage friends, everybody. Take care, y'all.
All right. See ya.